The emperor accidentally discovered that his ex-wife whom he had divorced 6 years earlier had remarried and now had 2 children. Their happy appearance filled him with intense displeasure. So that night, he had her daughter brought into the imperial palace. Upon learning this, the woman had no choice but to go to him. She thought that as long as she apologized, the emperor would let her daughter go, but instead, he demanded she divorce her current husband. When she refused, the emperor pulled her into a tight embrace and poured out his longing for her over the years. 7 years earlier, when the man was still the crown prince, he and the woman had been a couple admired by everyone. However, the woman accidentally found out he was having an affair with her best friend. Heartbroken and disillusioned, she resolutely demanded a divorce, even slashing his hand in her desperation to end the relationship. But when she returned home, she discovered she was pregnant. Left with no other option, she married her brother-in-law, who had just lost his wife. Her sister's death had left her children without care, so the brother-in-law agreed to the marriage. Yet just as he was about to leave the room after their wedding night, the woman stopped him. She confessed her pregnancy and begged him to help hide the child's true parentage, and he agreed. That night, he stayed in her room. She thought the matter would end there, but 5 years later, when the crown prince ascended the throne as emperor, her mother-in-law grew terrified. Fearing that the woman's status as the emperor's ex-wife would bring disaster to the family, she forced the woman to divorce her husband and even tried to send her to the countryside that very night. As the woman grieved alone, her husband rode after her. Over the 5 years they had lived together, he had fallen deeply in love with her. He tore up the divorce papers and took her back home. When his mother scolded him for being unwise, he pulled out a notice from the emperor. It turned out the emperor, seeking revenge on the woman, had issued an order forcing their entire family to move to the capital. The next day, as soon as the woman arrived in the capital, the empress dowager invited her into the palace. Along the way, she tried her best to avoid the emperor, but he had calculated her route and waited for her ahead. Yet when he finally saw her, he said nothing, only silently touching the scar on his hand. To defend the emperor's dignity, a guard immediately berated the woman for not kneeling. Still, the emperor said nothing. He gave her a glance and walked away. The woman, who had been on edge, finally let out a sigh of relief. But after she turned to leave, the emperor quietly looked back at her retreating figure and then promptly punished the guard who had ordered her to kneel.